In the golden age of Egypt, when the gods walked openly among mortals and divine power flowed freely through the land of the Nile, Ra, the sun god, ruled as supreme king over both the heavens and the earth. His daily journey across the sky brought warmth and light to all creation, and his divine authority maintained perfect order throughout the cosmos. But even gods can grow old, and as countless ages passed, Ra began to show signs of divine weariness. His steps became slower, his voice grew softer, and the radiance that once blazed from him with blinding intensity now flickered like a candle in the wind. And humanity, always quick to forget divine beneficence and test the boundaries of divine patience, began to notice this weakness. The people of Egypt, who had once bowed before Ra with absolute reverence and offered prayers of gratitude for every sunrise, now whispered rebellious thoughts in the shadows of their homes. They gathered in secret meetings, speaking words that should never have been spoken, questioning whether the aging sun god still possessed the power to rule over them. Some even dared to plot open rebellion, planning to overthrow the divine order and establish their own authority over the sacred land. These whispers of insurrection reached the ears of Ra as he sat upon his cosmic throne, and the ancient god felt a rage building within him that had not stirred for countless ages. Ra summoned the council of the gods to his presence, calling forth the most powerful deities in the Egyptian pantheon to witness his judgment upon ungrateful humanity. The divine assembly gathered in the halls of heaven, with Shu and Tefnut, Geb and Nut, Osiris and Isis, Set and Nephthys, and all the great gods standing before their king. Ra spoke to them of humanity's betrayal, of the ingratitude and rebellion that festered in mortal hearts, and he declared that punishment must be swift and terrible. The gods listened in silence, knowing that the wrath of Ra, when finally unleashed, would be a force unlike any the world had ever witnessed. From the very substance of Ra's divine fury, from the burning anger in his eye that blazed like the desert sun at its zenith, the god created a new deity whose sole purpose would be the destruction of rebellious humanity. This was Sekhmet, the lion goddess, born from rage itself and embodying all the terrifying power of the sun's burning heat. She manifested with the head of a fierce lioness, her golden fur rippling with divine energy, her amber eyes blazing with hunger for battle and blood. Sekhmet was the eye of Ra made flesh, the physical manifestation of the sun god's wrath, a warrior goddess without mercy or restraint. Ra commanded Sekhmet to descend to earth and punish the rebels, to remind humanity of the terrible price of defying divine authority. The lion goddess needed no second invitation, for destruction and warfare were woven into the very essence of her being. She fell upon Egypt like a burning comet, her roar shaking the foundations of temples and palaces, her claws sharper than any weapon forged by mortal hands. Sekhmet began to hunt the rebels through the streets and fields, and where she walked, death followed. Her fury was absolute, her power overwhelming, and no mortal could stand against her divine wrath. At first, the gods watched Sekhmet's rampage with grim satisfaction, believing that a harsh lesson would restore proper fear and reverence in mortal hearts. But the lion goddess, once unleashed, could not be easily controlled. Her bloodlust grew with every kill, her rage intensified with every moment of battle, and soon she was no longer distinguishing between rebels and innocents. Sekhmet hunted anyone she encountered, slaughtering the guilty and innocent alike with equal savage efficiency. The fields of Egypt ran red with blood, the Nile itself seemed to darken with the reflection of death, and the screams of the dying echoed across the land day and night. Ra looked down from his throne and saw that his punishment had become an apocalypse, that Sekhmet's unstoppable rampage threatened not just the rebels but all of humanity. The lion goddess waded through rivers of blood, her laughter mixing with the cries of her victims, and she showed no signs of slowing or stopping. In fact, with each passing hour, Sekhmet seemed to grow stronger, more savage, more consumed by the ecstasy of destruction. Ra realized with horror that he had created a force he could not control, a goddess whose thirst for blood had become insatiable and who would not cease until every human being in Egypt had been destroyed. The king of the gods called out to Sekhmet, commanding her to stop, to return to the heavens and end the slaughter. But the lion goddess was lost in the red haze of battle fury, her consciousness drowned in bloodlust so profound that even the voice of her creator could not reach her. She continued her rampage, hunting through day and night without rest, her divine endurance ensuring that fatigue would never slow her terrible work. The other gods tried to intervene, but none dared approach too closely, for Sekhmet in her rage was a danger even to divine beings, and her claws could rend immortal flesh as easily as mortal. In desperation, Ra turned to Thoth, the god of wisdom and cunning, the divine intellect who could solve problems that brute force could never overcome. Thoth listened to Ra's plea and immediately set his brilliant mind to work on the seemingly impossible challenge of stopping an unstoppable goddess. He understood that Sekhmet could not be defeated through strength, for she was the embodiment of Ra's own power, nor could she be reasoned with in her current state of blood-mad fury. What was needed was not force but deception, not confrontation but misdirection, a trick so clever that even a goddess would fall for it. Thoth devised an ingenious plan that would appeal to the one thing that could overcome Sekhmet's bloodlust, her physical thirst after days of continuous slaughter under the burning Egyptian sun. He commanded the priests and brewers of Egypt to gather vast quantities of beer, enough to fill 7,000 jars, and to mix this beer with red ochre and pomegranate juice until it looked exactly like human blood. Throughout the night, while Sekhmet rested briefly before resuming her hunt at dawn, Thoth's servants worked frantically to spread this crimson liquid across the fields where the goddess would walk when she awoke, creating lakes and rivers of what appeared to be fresh blood. When dawn broke and Sekhmet emerged to continue her rampage, she saw before her what seemed to be an impossible bounty. Fields flooded with blood stretching to the horizon in every direction. The sight drove her into a frenzy of triumph and joy, for she believed she had been so successful in her slaughter that the entire earth was now drenched in the blood of humanity. Sekhmet began to lap up the crimson liquid eagerly, drinking deeply of what she thought was the evidence of her complete victory. The beer, mixed with the red dye, tasted sweet and satisfying, and the goddess drank more and more, unable to resist the apparent fruits of her conquest. As Sekhmet continued drinking the disguised beer, the alcohol began to work its inevitable effect even on her divine constitution. The lion goddess, who had been unstoppable in battle, began to sway and stumble. Her roars became less fearsome and more confused. Her razor-sharp focus dissolved into drunken bewilderment. Sekhmet drank until she could drink no more, consuming such vast quantities of the beer-blood mixture that even a goddess could not remain standing. Finally, the terrible warrior who had nearly destroyed humanity collapsed into a deep, drunken sleep, her bloodlust completely forgotten, her rage transformed into peaceful unconsciousness. While Sekhmet slept off the effects of 7,000 jars of beer, a remarkable transformation took place. The goddess, who had been pure destruction and rage, slowly began to change, her fierce lioness features softening, her savage nature mellowing. When she finally awoke, Sekhmet was no longer the unstoppable killing machine she had been. The bloodlust had drained from her eyes, replaced by a gentler awareness. The goddess, who had been nothing but raw wrath made flesh, now contained within her the capacity for healing and protection, as well as destruction. She had become Hathor, the goddess of love, joy, and motherhood, though she would always retain her Sekhmet aspect for when divine wrath was truly needed. Ra looked upon the transformed goddess and saw that something precious had been created from this terrible crisis. Sekhmet Hathor now embodied the necessary balance between destruction and creation, between fierce protection and gentle nurturing. She would serve as a reminder that power without restraint leads to catastrophe, but also that even the most terrible rage can be transformed into something beautiful and life-giving. The sun god established festivals in honor of both aspects of the goddess, celebrating both her fierce protective nature and her loving, joyful side, ensuring that neither would be forgotten. The story of Sekhmet's rampage became one of the most important myths in Egyptian religion, teaching crucial lessons about the nature of divine power, the dangers of unchecked rage, and the possibility of transformation and redemption. The annual festival of drunkenness was established to commemorate the day Sekhmet was stopped, and Egyptians would drink beer dyed red in remembrance of the trick that saved humanity from extinction. Priests of Sekhmet served as both warriors and healers, understanding that the goddess embodied both aspects of power, the ability to destroy and the ability to restore. If you enjoyed discovering this legend and want to explore more incredible myths from ancient civilizations around the world, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps us bring you more amazing stories from history's greatest cultures. This video was created with the help of AI tools, and you can find links in the description below to everything we used to create this content, as well as awesome products inspired by the legends we cover. Thank you for joining us on this journey through ancient mythology, and we'll see you in the next legend.